welcome to the very first episode of Life. What is it good for?
Hi, I'm Bridget. If you're listening, it's not because I'm some well-known speaker, an influencer, or an expert on anything really. You've never heard of me. I'm just your average stay-at-home mom who thinks a little hard about the universe while packing school lunches and cleaning house.
And I'm Brandon, her older brother. I'm not a life coach either, but I've spent my adult life asking intently to the universe, what's the point of all this? More times than I've been to church. And we grew up in one. A very intense one, I might add.
Yeah, we're siblings, preacher kids who grew up in a religious system that gave us all the answers until some of those answers stopped working. And we're left with now is, questions.
Questions like, why are we here? Does life have a purpose? Or are we just killing time? Is religion a comfort or a control system? We ask the 2,000-year-old question all the time that Pilate asked Christ, quid est veritas? What is truth? And this podcast is not about selling you a philosophy. We're not pretending we figured anything out. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's just our broken selves having conversations about real life, hard questions, and what it means to survive when the meaning part feels like a cosmic prank.
And to give you a little background, I'm a wife of 21 years and a mom to a 15-year-old daughter who's smart, funny, brutally honest, and like most teens, navigating that wild emotional landscape of high school and identity and hormones. But I'm the structured one in the chaos of our family. I flip houses and invest in long-term rentals with my husband. I run the operations, the numbers, the finishes, and yes, the spreadsheets. I'm a systems thinker and with a love language that's somewhere between acts of service and like labeling everything in the pantry. In a world that rarely makes sense, creating beauty and function out of a demolition site or a messy schedule isn't just my job, but it's how I cope. And I've spent a lot of these years trying to get life right. Follow the rules, make the people happy, keep the house calm. But over the last few years, I've become more interested in the real than the right. Because somewhere between homeschool years, house renovations, late night existential spirals, and parenting a teenager, I realized I had a lot of questions I never got to ask. And so I'm asking those now.
As a little bit of background on me, I hold degrees in music, theology, human development, strategic communications, and business administration with accounting concentration. I've owned 2 small businesses. I've served as a church musician, a music educator, and a small business accountant / business advisor. I consider myself a devoted life career student.
And he and I, we talk a lot about parenting, religion, philosophy, marriage, and just the absurdity of it all. And now we're wanting to share some of those conversations with you.
My sister and I have had a ton of conversations over the years, many times them lasting an hour, 2, even 3. And for me, this show is about continuing those personal conversations and even questioning things that we were taught never to question. What if life doesn't have a grand purpose? What if survival is the purpose? And what is actually true? And then if those other questions are true, how do we survive in a way that's actually honest?
Yeah. And I've actually come to accept that maybe life isn't for anything, but that doesn't depress me. It actually clarifies things. It frees me from all those overly optimistic self-help books trying to convince me I was chosen for some divine plan.
James Watson, the American behavior psychologist, once said, "I don't think we are for anything." So what do you do with that question? Maybe you take the opposite position of Carl Jung, who had viewed Watson's behavioristic model as being too mechanical. And he replied, the least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. Well, either way, what does survival look like in a world where just being might be all there is?
Well, that's where this podcast lives, in that tension between letting go of meaning imposed on us by cultural created paradigms while still craving something that feels worth waking up for.
We're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about doubt, the family, dysfunction, childhood trauma, marriage, OCD, imposter syndrome, existential dread, heck, midlife crisis and finding contentment somewhere in the middle of it all.
But we're not going to be offering a 10-step to a better you, but we will be digging into how we're all just trying to survive in the most human, messy, awkward ways possible.
Socrates said the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. So you can consider us both very, very wise.
And also consider what Martin Esslin said. The dignity of man lies in his ability to face reality in all its meaninglessness.
So we invite you to join us on this journey of transparent brokenness, open admission to struggling to let go of the past, fighting to survive in the present, and striving for a future that makes sense. As we ask some big questions, we laugh at our own existential spirals, and we try to find something worth holding onto, even if it's just curiosity.
This is live. What is it good for? Let's find out.